All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're here with another Best Ball Mania draft on Underdog Fantasy. Actually, immediately wrong. This won't be a Best Ball Mania. This will be a puppy draft because we're practicing some of our mass multi entry best ball skills. Welcome, I'm Brian Jester, co-founder Occupy Fantasy, joined by my brother Moose. It's the first time you and I are together here on a best ball stream. What's up, Sunday morning? What's going on?
Definitely glad to be on board. I love how you just wrapped them in with we're doing the big one. It's like we're actually doing the small one. Hey,
Yeah,
we'll take it.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm being selfish here too, Moose, because I personally plan on 150 maxing the Best Ball Mania, and I feel like the biggest edge is probably in July and August, and maybe in September. I really don't want to waste any of my entries on content streams, so I'm gonna hold off on that. And when we live stream in July and August, I'll do some of those. But for now, they just opened this puppy up. It's already 23% fill. I mean, the craving for Best Ball is just out of control.
Yeah, as I last time I was on here with Chuck, we were talking about it. Like it's just growing absolutely nuts. It seems like every single person in the industry is talking about it. Everyone's playing it. I love it.
Yeah, me too. So if you guys aren't already drafting on Best Ball, drafting Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy, you can use promo code Occupy4 to get a 100% deposit match bonus. So make sure you check that out. Come draft with us. We're doing these drafts 2 to 3 times a week. Chris actually put out a strategy video for picks 1 through 3 on how to stack. So make sure you go check that out whenever you get some time. It's already up on the YouTube channel. So Moose, we're gonna hop in this puppy draft. It's the $5 120 max, and I think one of the themes of today we should talk about. You and I were discussing this right before the stream started. Is that if you are doing a bunch of best balls, and hell, if you're watching this in June, you probably are doing a bunch of best balls. And if that's the case, you want to get some exposure to different stacks, right? You don't want to end up with just 6 quarterbacks on your roster. And if you watched my stream with Chris, where I am trying to just maximally correlate everything for the playoff weeks, by doing that, sometimes Moose, you just won't end up with some quarterbacks on your teams.
Yeah, and it's always a fine line of we talk about it exactly in like 150 max in DFS or three entry anything at all. Where do you really want to put all your eggs in one basket, especially this early? If you're drafting this early, you think there's an edge. You really want to risk 75% exposure on same thing. If you get luck of the draw, you get first couple picks or last couple of picks. You always end up just drafting the exact same team. Sometimes, Brian, I think you just have to just force it. And even though you're sacrificing some ADP value or reaching in some spots, it's one of those things where like you kind of have to do it, I think.
I think so too. So let me pull up the ADP tracker, Occupy Fantasy, free to use, tracks everyone's ADP over the last 7 days. If we just search quarterback, and Moose, I've drafted most of these guys. I've only done maybe 10 drafts or so far, but I definitely haven't gotten any Cleveland stacks with Deshaun Watson. I haven't had any Justin Herbert stacks. No Aaron Rodgers, no Russell Wilson, none of these stacks, right? And so today we're going to make an example of, hey, these are some teams we want to get some more exposure to. What does a draft look like if we try to target one of those stacks to get some more exposures? How's that sound?
Sounds good. One thing though is, can you just zoom in a little bit on this on Occupy?
Yeah,
The Control Plus, just so
got
the
you.
viewers can see a little bit easier.
Yeah, there we go. So zoomed in on that.
Maybe
We
one
should be
more.
good. We'll do one more. All right, let's see. How's that look? Cool. Oh yeah, this looks pretty good.
There we go. That's way better. Yeah.
All right, and this is the
Perfect.
Stack Seeker, which we'll be using heavily here in this draft. This allows you to enter a team. Let's say Arizona. It shows you who their opponents are for week 15, 16, and 17. And you can enter their opponents, and then you just get this whole spider's web of correlation. And I did a draft this morning. I ended up having like 10 teams entered into this Stack Seeker. So I basically had correlation planned out for every single round. So I'm ready to do it. So let's hop in this draft, and we'll get started. So let's
Yes.
enter, and let's see here. So
Yeah, the Stack Seeker, pretty much. I did the first draft with it last night or the night before. Definitely a very valuable tool, probably the best tool we have for best ball. But I do feel like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, just like spider web everywhere there on the wall.
yeah, yeah, it's like a week
Eventually, you
15
have
correlation.
just all 32, every team. You just have every team picked on it, and it's like, all right, go.
So much correlation. All right, Moose, we get the fourth pick. So let me see if I can zoom in one more
Nice.
level here for you guys. All right, so we zoomed in. Fourth pick. So we go to the ADP tracker here to remove quarterback. So Tyreek, Cooper Cup, Kelsey, Diggs. I actually haven't drafted Cooper Cup in any drafts yet, so maybe that's a route I'll go here. But let's see what falls to us here. Here we're not really forcing anything just yet. I think it's a little too early in the draft to force at least too early. Like if I had like the 7th or 8th pick, I can maybe force a correlated player that's like 2 spots above ADP. But I feel like the 4th pick, no
Mhm.
reason to get too crazy just yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so I was drafting this morning, and I had the 11th pick, and Kelsey fell to me.
Ooh,
Man,
was that the puppy or the big one?
it was just a puppy. Yeah, again, I'm
Okay.
saving my bullets for July and August for
Yeah,
the best ball mania.
makes sense. And it's crazy, as I talked about in our staff chat. Best ball's gotten so crazy. Even the wife has gotten into it. Doesn't even know anything about football. Even she's done a couple best ball drafts. So that's how you know the best ball content's super crazy.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's really is fun to draft. It's fun to draft, and then it's fun to follow your teams throughout the year and not have to worry about making 7,000 waiver decisions.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I got a text out of the blue, and she's like, she goes, "Is Austin Eckler good?" And I was like out of the blue. I didn't even know she was doing the best ball draft. She just texted me, and I was like, yeah, why? Oh, I just picked him in an underdog. I was like, how?
Oh,
Again, she doesn't watch football, doesn't do anything, but it was great. I was like, I love it.
yeah. I
I'm here
mean,
for the
honestly,
content.
if you know the general strategy, all right, McCaffrey just went. I'm gonna go Cooper Cup here, most just because I haven't drafted him yet,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna get
yeah,
him on my team. Um,
makes sense.
so we'll go Cooper Cup here. It's usually him or Tyreek in the 4th spot, so I have no problem taking Cooper Cup here. All right, so let's bring up the
Hmm.
stacks here really quickly,
Hmm.
and let's bring in LA to the mix. They have probably maybe the worst 15, 16, 17 correlation in Washington, New Orleans, and the Giants. So what I'm thinking here is let's look at these other teams that they're correlated with, and let's see maybe we stack them. So we have Washington, Rams, Jets, 49ers. All right, so we said we on some Aaron Rodgers stacks, right? So they do play the
Hmm.
Jets. That would give us some correlation if we pick a Washington player with Cooper Cup. And then let's go back to LA here. New Orleans and the Giants. So New Orleans played. I know they got Tampa Bay in Week 17. Giants, Rams. That's multi-layered correlation there. And then the Giants, Philly, LA. So I'm gonna see if I can get an Aaron Rodgers stack in this one. I'm gonna try to force an Aaron
Uh
Rodgers
huh.
stack.
Okay.
So let's see. Let's bring up the draft board here. See if there's any surprises just yet. Nothing. It looks like pretty standard.
And I'm wondering about, you mentioned with Cup not having like the greatest playoff matchups. Do you think could it make sense to just say, I'm just picking the best player here and then start doing correlating with your second, third pick
Definitely.
with completely different team?
For sure. Definitely for sure. I mean, you could go Matt Stafford stacks here. I know Chris and Chuck and everyone on streams really has been drafting Matt Stafford a lot so far. I think Chuck said he's one of his top 3 most exposed quarterbacks through a month and a half or whatever this is. So I mean, we could certainly go that route. I have no problem with it. Uh, but for the purposes of this draft, we're going to try to get the Aaron Rodgers stack. So let's bring up the Jets here
Yeah.
real quickly. So the Jets are who we're trying to get. Miami, Washington, Cleveland. So in that sense, if we were going to force Aaron Rodgers, we probably should have taken Tyreek over Cooper Cup. So good to know there. So Washington and 17. All right, so let's bring these guys up. Let's bring up Miami. Jesus Christ, my mouse wheel would work. All right, Miami, Washington, and who the Jets got? Cleveland. Jesus Christ, this is bad. Okay, this is why no one's stacking them. But again, Moose, if no one's stacking them and we have them and they go off, that's how you win $3 million.
There we go. Then you're rooting for Aaron Rodgers stats. Week 17. Let's go.
Exactly. All right, so let's bring up these other 2 teams, New Orleans and the Giants. So really, especially if you haven't done a lot of research, by doing this correlation method early, you're not really looking for ADP values. You're just looking. So each round, I'm looking for guys I can take that fit this correlation.
Yeah.
Let's go back here. So I'm almost on the clock. One pick away. Jalen Waddle would give us the Miami correlation, and he is just
Hmm.
immediately taken as soon as we say that. So let's see here. Um, we have 20 seconds left. Barkley, Waddle, Chubb, Olave. Um, Literally all these players are taken. That's great. Moose, do you have a preference here?
Yeah.
Best player available?
Uh, you're about 10 seconds behind me, so I can't really see. Just anybody, I guess, at the top of the list for wide receivers.
All right, missed my pick. Fantastic. But I did get Devonta Smith because he was in my queue. So, okay, good. So we got Devonta Smith, Philly.
Perfect.
Disastrous start for us, Moose, through 2 rounds, not knowing, not getting the player we wanted. and everyone being taken above us, and this 4 stack not necessarily working. So great. Although Philly, I think Philly's correlated with Washington, right? And we need a Washington player for other stacks, so it's not the
Yep.
worst pick.
Yeah. No. Again, also it's not that just because we're not correlating, we're just still getting good players.
Right.
So
Right.
you
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you take a
know,
guy at ADP.
and is it possible? Can you send me the link or put the link to the draft board in so people can follow along and so I can have this on the other screen?
All right, I'm gonna put this in the chat and see if this works. If you can follow along, I'm not even sure if that actually
I
works.
think no, like if you hit the little chart, the thing next to your name,
Oh, next to my name?
yeah, hit the draft board and
Yeah,
then hit the
and then do what?
then open that up.
Oh, I got
No,
you.
click the
I got you.
chart
I got
and
you. I
then
got you. I
pop
got you.
out.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
Right.
All right, expert level here. All right, round 3. Let's go here so we're not. Brees Hall, Amari Cooper. These are teams we want. Guys we want.
Yes.
Brees Hall, Amari Cooper. All right. So Jets or Cleveland? Who's more correlated for us right now? So we're trying to get Aaron Rodgers stacks. We don't want the running back. We're trying to get wide receivers with him. So we'll go with Amari Cooper here, week 17 correlation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that works. I like that pick.
All right, and I mean,
And,
I always like starting drafts with 3 receivers and get a couple running backs here. Like that's always been the way I've drafted. But what were we about to say, Moose?
Oh yeah, and I see Matt here's in the chat saying he loves the ADP tracker as well, and definitely helps see where you can target players for correlation. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm using it to the extreme. Like there are only a couple spots per draft Moose where I'm taking a guy maybe a round above ADP, but never in the first 3 rounds. So it's not like I'm sacrificing much value. But I do know that every step of the way, if I can advance, I'm probably going to have some of the most correlated teams in the entire field in any contest I play. Just the way I'm doing this,
Exactly. Yeah.
because it makes us. I mean, again, if you've done your projections already, if you have projections that you've seen that you trust, it's like okay, yeah, we can draft for value every step of the way. Sure, but I think this early out, again, especially for people like us who haven't done the full projections yet, I mean, I think we have a huge edge over people by doing this.
Yes, 100%. And I think I don't know, especially drafting so early. If you nail it, especially if like in the later rounds, if you're just picking players that you're picking the wide receiver 5, the tight end 4, but you're still correlating with them. If it goes on, that correlation hits, and those players get there, you get a huge, massive boost.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So the funny thing here, Moose, is if you look at our correlated teams, they have suggested players in rounds 1 through 4, and then no player fits with an ADP of round 5 or 6, and just one in round 4 in Terry McLaurin. So here's where you can start to look for this secondary correlation. So these teams have listed, right? So like, who else here? New Orleans, Dallas, Chicago, Houston, Tampa Bay. Like some of these teams, the Giants, these teams that are secondarily correlated with our secondary players, we're just getting multi levels of correlation. Most it's just the ultimate inception.
I heard like correlation, so we put correlation in your correlation.
That's exactly what's happening. All right, so let's see. I definitely need some running backs, by the way. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, so we got 3 receivers so far. None of these running backs fit the inception correlation. Receivers.
Okay.
DJ Moore fits Chicago, so let's put him in here. And I like just putting these guys in my queue so I know who I'm looking for.
Exactly. Yes.
Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay was one. Any tight ends that fit? Nope. Quarterbacks. We could go Justin Fields too, right? We could do Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers stack, I believe, right? They have different bye weeks. 13-7.
Don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, dude. So for those of you who missed my first draft on here, I basically drafted every single player with the same bye week. It was the biggest rookie mistake I've ever done. But I will say, Moose, thanks to you, the tools are not available on the site yet, and I was just kind of flying blindly. It is much easier to know which players have bye weeks and to make your teams more stronger this way.
I know, but like it literally says bye week, like on Underdog.
Bro, I know, but believe me, it was Mr. Krabs meme, the first one.
Oh, I know. Yeah, especially that 30 seconds is wild.
Yeah, 30 seconds gets crazy.
Yeah. Jose's in the chat says, I've never played best ball. Teach me the fundamentals.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So let me get through these next two picks, Jose, and we'll talk about that some. So Moose, we are at 4-9 here.
Okay.
McLaurin just went off the board. Should we go Justin Fields? Get a quarterback, and we'll wrap it around with Aaron Rodgers correlation. Correlation, but
I love it.
okay. So let's get Justin Fields. All right. We still have no running backs. We're going anti running back here.
It's okay.
So we could go DJ Moore with the correlation here next, or Chris Godwin. So I got those two players lined up. Let me see here. I think Green Bay was Green Bay in the mix here. No, I think that was one of our other crazy ideas. Let's get Chicago in here, since we have Justin Fields now. So Chicago plays Cleveland, Arizona, Atlanta. Man, some of these stacks are just really bad.
They're bad, yes.
Cleveland, Arizona, Atlanta. So let's add Arizona, Atlanta here. Arizona, Atlanta. Am I picking yet? No, so we got a few more picks. Okay. Oops. Okay. Kyle Pitts around 6. DJ Moore. It is rough out here in these streets. Okay. DJ Moore and Chris Godwin are still here.
I'm pretty sure we just said. Okay, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure we just said let's figure out how we can make the worst team, hardest team possible.
But I will say, we're gonna have unique teams, and I don't think they're bad. Again, we're still taking players at ADP.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. So DJ Moore obviously just went because we talked about him. Chris Godwin's still there, and there was some Tampa Bay correlation somewhere. Let's see here.
We're getting stream sniped by somebody in here.
I know, dude. Or should we take a running back? Nah, we're gonna go Chris Godwin here, and we're gonna have just the strongest receiver core possible. Because you can start with the
Okay.
four. So Justin Fields, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin. Okay. So now let's look, Moose. Let's start planning out some of these Aaron Rodgers stacks. So if we go to just the ADP tool and we type in New York Jets. So the nice thing is, if you're playing Jet stacks and you can't get your hands on Garrett Wilson or Brees Hall, you can easily make it happen with round 10 and beyond with Alan Lazard, Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin, Miko Hardman. So that is pretty enticing to me, Moose.
Yeah, and it's almost one of those things where, especially, there's a reason why they're going round 10, 12 plus, because they're not, the best players at their position. But if you do get some of these second or third place players, you can always wiggle around. It's a lot. How do I put this? Like, it's probably not the best move to jump early on rounds 1 and 2 on people. But
Yes.
if you jump around in round 12, 13, it makes it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, you're barely sacrificing anything at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go back to Jose's question. I never played best ball. Teach me the fundamentals. So, I think the first step, Jose, is to know which site you're playing on and the scoring system and the contest that you're playing. Because most if you're just playing a typical best ball league where there's no playoffs, there's no exponential payouts at the end, that's when you're trying to get value. You still correlate some because you get those spike weeks. But in reality, Moose, the reason we have the Stack Seeker up is because, like DFS, there's so much correlation. We're trying to win weeks. We're trying to get as many points as possible. And correlation is one of the easiest ways to do that.
Yes.
So
100%.
So really, we're trying to stack teams, Jose. We're trying to make sure we have balanced bye weeks. We don't have everybody off on the same bye week. And then really roster construction. How many players per position? Really, you want 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 2 to 3 tight ends, 5 to 6 running backs, 7 to 9 wide receivers. And Moose, for me, I'll have less of a position, and if I invest in it earlier. Whereas if I invest in it later, I'll have more at the position. So like in this draft, we have 0 running backs through 5 rounds, 4 receivers. I'll probably take 1 less receiver than I normally would, and I'll probably say 1 more running back than I normally would, just to give us more shots on goal with those running backs.
Yeah, sounds reasonable to be. I think the biggest thing for the best ball is you have to be adaptive of your situation.
For sure.
Which pick you get first, and then anything can happen throughout the draft. Again, we drafted 4 straight wide receivers for position players. Now you have to adjust on the fly. What do I do next? So it's pretty good. And one thing I like it compared to DFS, where in DFS you're constrained by the salary, but in best ball you can work it however you need to, as long as the players are there based off their ADP. So
Exactly.
it's one less constraint.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so let's see. We could get some Ram stacks with Cam Makers. We already have Cooper Cup. Cam Makers does stand up. I like him as a value this year. We'll see. So I'm gonna queue him up because we still have 0 running backs. But I don't want to force it, Moose. Right? I'm not gonna take a running back just to take a running back right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see your wide receiver. Um, San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. No correlation there. It's tight end. We do have Kyle Pitts, Atlanta and Chicago correlation. I joked about that with Chris on our very first stream that no one's stacking Atlanta and Chicago, and here we are potentially doing it once more. And
You're just gonna
again,
have.
Moose, I will say, as soon as we say his name, he is taken. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're actually getting stream sniped. That's crazy. Let's see here. Yeah, I think this is tough. Yeah, this is a tough spot.
The one pick I do like here, and I'm not going to say his name out loud, but it gives us Cooper Cup correlation in week 17, who we took in the first round.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak his name because it is a 100% hit rate in all of the streams I've done. And I didn't say his name, and he didn't get taken. That's Darren Waller. So we get a tight end here on the board.
Nice.
Moving over to the Giants. Correlation with Cooper Cup. And I've taken him early enough, and this is another key positional point is he's not a Kelsey, obviously, and he's not a Mark Andrews. And when I take those guys, I'm usually just taking 2 tight ends. Waller's
Yeah.
kind of on the border for me. I'll probably end up taking 3. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that as well because tight end's one of those positions where you have the elite tier, and for Kelsey, all them. Then you have like everyone, like the next 5 or 6 people, and then it's a very quick drop off of like. So it's like if it gets to the point where you have to pick one of those random just drop off people, I would probably rather take a guess with any other positional player, running back or wide receiver. I'm fine going 2 tight ends if I know the other tight ends left are just complete terrible that might get you a target every other week.
True. True. Yeah, for sure. I totally understand that. And it appears that Jose has never played best ball, which is totally fine, right? Not calling you out, Jose, just clarifying here. And he's asking about bye weeks will the sites autofill. So yeah, the nice thing about best ball is you never set a lineup. You don't have to worry about this. That's why we're able to draft 300 teams and not lose our sanity during the season. Whatever your best possible lineup is during the season, the site will automatically place that for you. So after the week's over, if Cup, Smith, and Godwin were my top 3 scoring receivers, they'll be in my starting lineup. You never have to make decisions. It's called best ball for a reason. Your best possible lineup is played every week. So 0 decisions are need to be made.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It reminded me, Brian, of when I can't remember we talked about this. I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago. There was, I think it was the football guys thing, and a guy had 300 manual lineups.
Yeah.
And we're like, how do you just handle a late, like, and there's people who were game time decisions. It's like, how do you just manually change that? That's tough.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't. All right, we're back on the clock, Moose here, and I'm going to take Cam Akers. We'll stick with this Rams
Okay.
correlation. His ADP is 76. This is exactly pick 76, and we're going to take him. We're going to take Cam Akers. So we got potential 2-1 Ram stacks. And again, you don't need to take the quarterback to have game stacks, right? Most we talk about secondary stacks in NFL, right? So going back to the Rams on the stack seeker, the Rams get Washington, New Orleans, and the Giants. So we have a 2-1 game stack for Week 17, which we love. And I will say, Most, it's kind of nice to have 2-1 game stacks when you have a rushing quarterback and you don't include the quarterback. So like the Giant side, like we're just writing fan fiction at this point. But in Week 17, let's say the Giants go off, Daniel Jones scores well, Waller goes for 100 yards and a touchdown. That forces the Rams to keep up, and that allows Kupp and Akers, who should dominate most of the opportunity on their side, to put up fantasy points. So at least we're telling the right story here.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when if your other, like, so you have Fields as well. You have other rushing quarterbacks with it being best ball. If you have an elite quarterback that can outscore your game stack quarterback, it's great. It's good as well.
True. It's very, very true.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see here.
Moose, I will say, just quick side note that only matters for me and you. We just booked a Euro Tour winner. That's in the books for us. So
McKibben.
Yes, very nice.
Until Alexander Bedort hits a hole in one on this par 5.
Yeah, me and Moose were sweating some DP World Tour bets. Very normal Sunday morning activities for us today. So, all right. we're almost through 7 rounds. James Conner's the guy I'm eyeing. If I can get him, he provides some more correlation for us. I don't know if he'll last until our pick. It would be about 8 spots behind ADP. It's gonna be really tough moves.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, where when Chuck and I were on stream, I think it makes sense to if you're reaching for a guy around this time, if you know if his ADP is above, like if your pick is, I can't see what pick you are, but if you're like pick 50 and the person you want to pick is pick 60, but he's not gonna get back to you until after that, it makes sense to reach for him there because you're not gonna be able to get him when he gets back.
Exactly. And that's, I think maybe some people, if you've done season long fantasy drafts, traditional ones, you understand that concept a little bit. But that's more of like a, I need to go get my guy type of thing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
our home drafts moves. It's like, I've been studying this player. I really want to get him on my team. So I'm going to take him a little bit above AP because I know he's not going to come back to me, which is totally fine, right? Here, we're doing it for a different reason because we're trying to maximize the correlation.
Exactly. Yes.
So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I said his name out loud, so we basically have no shot of taking him here. So let's go back to the stack seeker. We were in round 8. So round 8, players that make sense. Elijah Moore, Michael Thomas. Man, this is the worst fucking team I've ever seen. Okay. Let's see. You know what we could do? This is interesting. I don't necessarily like this.
Okay.
Let me see here. We talked about not having Deshaun Watson stacks, and we do have Amari Cooper.
Okay.
Elijah Moore just went too, so that takes it off the board a little bit for me. But let me see here. Cleveland plays. Who's Cleveland have? Chicago, Houston, Jets. Chicago, Houston, the Jets is the craziest schedule. My God. This is why, again, we said this 5 times already, but this is why no one stacks these teams.
Yeah, it's very tough to get through to them.
You definitely have to go out of your way to do it.
And they don't even. Again, we're drafting people with around their ADP, so it's not the worst, but it still feels gross to look at it as a whole.
It does. Most we are 1 pick away. Fingers crossed. Oh, they took Kamara. All right, we got. We probably shouldn't be excited to take James Conner, but we are excited because we got him past ADP and it has correlation.
Just
Very
put
nice.
that on the gravestone.
I know. This team would be sick in 2019. Cam Akers and James Conner.
Here lies Brian Jester. He survived his ADP.
Is there anything better, honestly, than waiting for a guy for that many picks? By the way, I was willing to take him last round.
Yeah.
And all right, so round 9. Let's go back to the stack seeker. We still got Michael Thomas, Njoku. We've already taken a tight end early. Brian Robinson, Washington stands out. We do need another running back, and he does stand out to me. So let's cue these guys up. Again, we hate saying their names out loud, but
yeah, I do like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, so obviously we're in the Washington D.C. area. What do you think about? Because they got Antonio Gibson. Robinson came on strong late last year. Obviously, we had a huge disagreement in our staff chat about Gibson versus Robinson during that one showdown slate. Any thoughts? So clearly, most of the field thinks Robinson is the better play. I'm not really sure. I feel like it should be closer, but I'm not sure.
I definitely think it's closer than what it is. And as I told Chuck here on the last stream, I am going to try and get to. I don't know. I got to see if I'll even be in the country then, but I do want to go to a couple of Commanders training camps and see, kind of just get the like the hands-on, eyes-on experience of what's really happening there. Maybe get some knowledge there. And as I told him, then I see Brian Robinson get reps with the first team, and I'm on the sidelines doing best ball drafts at training camp.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you got your slow drafts going, you'd say, let me cue up Brian Robinson real quick. That's that real time data.
It's funny. I still have it from like the Notes app on my phone. Anytime I go to the Notes app, I still have notes from like 2019 Commanders, like air yards and snap counts of when we went to training camp there.
If there's one thing Moose is good for, there's a lot of things Moose is good for, but there's one thing Moose is good for, is Moose yards, the manual air yards. No matter which league, which practice, Moose is willing to chart some air yards. I don't know if you're willing. I don't know if you'd like to do it, but you're willing to do it.
It's like one of those things. Like once you get in the groove of things, you kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Looking at the notes here, it's like Trey Quinn, is he hurt? Yeah, not seen a camp. Oh, okay. I guess he was hurt. I just kind of just like, because it's so much going on, you just type what's going through your mind, and then you worry about it later.
Yeah, just stream of consciousness, just jot it down.
Terry McLaurin went 7 for 7 that day. Camp, I like it.
That's why we almost drafted him here. We got those notes, Moose.
from 2019, from 4 years ago.
Yeah. All right, so it's round 9 completing. This is Jets territory, which is what we're looking to do here. So I'm gonna cue these guys up.
Hmm.
I feel like his number 2 receiver, whose name I will not say for fear of being sniped, will probably be taken before us.
Hmm.
Um, and if we're really gonna force this stack, we probably should have taken him over Brian Robinson. But the way I feel, let's go back to the Jets in the ADP tool. Um, I still don't mind taking Miko Hardman, who I know Chris is all over and has been drafting a lot of. Corey Davis, even later. Tyler Conklin at tight end could be one of our complementary tight ends. So there's definitely ways to get even
Hmm.
2-1 Aaron Rodgers stacks.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. In case Lazard, shit, I said his name. In case the receiver whose name will not be spoken is taken, other guys we can take. Uh, let's see here. Really, nobody else. Uh, Darnell Mooney is a guy that I like, and we compare him with Justin Fields. Let me cue him up as well.
Okay.
Um, here's another question. I don't know. Maybe they have. I haven't watched every single second. Sue me of our best ball streams, but Antonio Gibson would also be here with this pick. But Moose, I think in such a high ceiling format where there's exponential payouts, I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense to take both running backs. I feel like you just have to. You can get exposure to both guys in different drafts. I'm just not sure you're maximizing the ceiling of your current team if you take both guys from the same backfield.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, just because you're limiting your upside. You're basically picking one player who's ever the most points with two spots, and you can use that other spot for any other position.
Right.
That Yeah, it would make the only time it would make sense if it's like round like 15, 16, 17, like where you're just having dart throws and you have a guy that like maybe you pick running back 2 and running back 3 who this early are
Sure.
splitting work and you don't know which one's going to get it. It's like that can make sense, but
Yeah, just think the mid rounds especially just doesn't make
yeah.
a ton of sense. Um, I mean, I don't know. I guess not really, but it'd have to be like an Atlanta team. But even then, like let's assume Atlanta runs like 600 times, which they're losers. They
Mhm.
probably will do. But you're still spending a round 1 pick on Bijan, and if Algier hits value or is playable, Bijan's probably not worth a first round pick, right? It would have to be like a 5th and 10th
Yeah.
round pick. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't feel like a great move. All right, we're 1 pick away, Moose. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Where did the guy draft Garrett Wilson? So the guy behind us drafted Garrett Wilson. I feel like he's gonna take Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's way ahead. He's way behind us. Never mind. I was looking. Well, the guy fucking right in front of us took Aaron Rodgers for no reason. Just now, just like Aaron Rodgers with 0 Jets players, so that's cool.
Wow.
All right, we're gonna take Darnell Mooney here to get our fields
Okay.
correlation. But sales deflated Moose. So this entire Jets correlation we've been looking for out the window. All right, so which quarterbacks make more sense to Moose now to pair with Justin Fields?
All right.
Get some correlation.
What about this? What about this? Like Galaxy Brain backup quarterback.
We take Zach Wilson, and that's how we get the
Yeah.
super unique Jet stack. That's devastating. We have a great backup plan, though, Moose, and we talked about it in the very first round. It's Matt Stafford, right? With Cooper Cup,
Yeah.
we get Ram stacks. So I'm gonna put Matthew Stafford in my queue, and ideally not take him until like 4 more rounds. But let's make sure we get other players in there instead. So
And
Chris,
also makes sense that
Real
like
quick,
oh, okay.
Chris is Darnell Mooney's most tilt pick ever. Chris, we had him queued up
Yeah.
just in case, so let's. I don't want to hear that.
And I guess one good thing about having these like mid-tier teams is there's so many different options once you get to round 10, 11 for the quarterbacks where no like you have the 3, 4 elite quarterbacks. They're all going round 2. And so if you don't get the perfect setup, you're not getting your correlation with that.
True.
But with these quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, they're going to go spread out over 1, 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. You can always pick them if you need to.
Exactly. Let me, all right, let me move Matthew Stafford to the bottom of my queue. All right, here's another example of exposures, right? I personally like Jamal Williams over the rookie Kendre Miller. but I've taken Jamal Williams more. In fact, I've taken Kendra Miller 0 times so far. And New Orleans has some correlation with Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay. So I'm going to take Kendra Miller here. Even though Moose, my personal rankings would have Jamal Williams over him, this is another example. This draft is the ultimate example of exposure setting and balancing exposures. Where I'm taking guys I might not normally take just to get my exposures
Mhm.
more in line with what I'm hoping to get over the course of 3 months.
Sounds like a plan to me. Yeah, usually when I get down to this pick, I'm just picking names, like just going off projections. And again, if there's somebody that somehow randomly I have, bunch of from this late round, I just won't pick him.
Right.
But yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's see. Chicago. So we all right. So now we're playing on. Let's go back to the Stack Seeker, and our Jets plans are up in
Okay.
flames. So let's get Jets guys out of this fucking tracker because I cannot believe that guy took him. All right, so that is devastating. We had so much good correlation to do. God damn it, dude. All right, so we took um we had a Miami player, we had a Washington player, we had a Cleveland. We had stacks so set up in this guy for no reason. That is devastating. All right, so Jets got on my face. Jets, Miami, Washington, Cleveland. Jets, Cleveland, Miami, Washington. All right, so the Rams again. Let's go back to this. So nice. We already got the Rams correlation because we've been playing it on with Cooper Cup. So we got Brian Robinson in
Mhm.
week 15, Kendra Miller week 16, Darren Waller week 17. So that'll work out nicely until that guy takes his third quarterback for no reason ahead of us. And then Chicago, Cleveland, Arizona, Atlanta. So we would like an Atlanta player ideally with Chicago in week 17.
Mhm.
But I mean, who the hell are you taking from Atlanta? God, this dude, Atlanta has the worst ADPs, right? It's Bijan, Drake London, then like a massive, then Kyle Pitts in there, and then massive drop off Tyler Rozier, and then no one from rounds 12 to 18 until you get to Cordell Patterson.
ADP round 1, 4, 6, and then 13. One person 13 and 18, 18.
I mean, how do you even
Bad.
have how's a wide receiver two not even viable?
Yeah, that's bad.
I will say, I mean, they can't run as much as they did last year. Maybe they will. But I don't think they will. And if that's the case, someone else has to step up there from Atlanta. And if you believe that, then whoever you think their wide receiver two is probably worth taking in the latter rounds. But again, that is a big leap of faith.
It really is. Yeah. It's funny. You were talking about exposures, different people. I actually just went on to my exposures, and it turns out I have 50% MVS, which I just realized I need to lower that exposure
Oh,
some. So,
yeah. So maybe take some other Chiefs receivers or just not take MVS when the time's up.
yes, that would be nice.
All right.
All right. So who are we thinking about next? Who we have queued up?
So we're gonna queue up another Rams target here. We're gonna go 4-1 Ram stack. A guy that Chris is really high on. Not gonna say his name once again for fear of being sniped. Move him to the top of my queue here. It'll give us a secondary option to Darren Waller. Don't have the same bye week move, so I did check, so we're good there.
There we go. Perfect.
And that man is Tyler Higbee, so we're gonna take him now.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, all right, so we under every circumstance possible, we have to get Matthew Stafford, right? His ADP is 160. I was talking about this strategy with Chris on one of our shows. This like indicator idea where we have to get Matthew Stafford. So if we look
Yeah.
at guys who are being taken above Matthew Stafford in ADP, Russ Wilson, Derek Carr, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray. Like once one of those guys are taken, that should be our indicator. All right, we got to get Stafford with our next pick so we're not sniped.
Yeah. That's actually I never thought about it that way. That makes really good sense, actually. Yeah.
And I will say, um, Russ is off the board already. There's still Carr, Love, and Murray to be taken. But we're about to be like 20 picks after our next pick. We pick in 3 picks. Our next pick's in 20 picks. I think it's too risky. We probably have to take Stafford here.
I was gonna say yeah. You're taking Stafford here.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
I was gonna say there's no way you're letting it risk.
Thank you.
We're not getting dick twice
No, we're not going to do that. Chris,
until finger looking good takes Stafford for no reason.
who's the guy? Who's the asshole that took Aaron Rodgers? RRR Fantasy 1000. What a piece of shit. Why? What's the point? Why? Why even do that?
Right. Yeah, auto picked.
Dude, probably. All right, we're on the clock. We're taking Stafford. We got Fields and Stafford. Feeling good. All right, so because we took a quarterback early in Fields, um, I'm fine. If Stafford's fucked, like we're fucked anyways, probably. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna stick with two quarterbacks here for line of construction. I'll probably end up taking a third tight end.
Okay.
Um,
Get some Cole Kmet correlation.
I did think about that. I, I did think about that.
There's
But
no way he survives 20 picks.
no, but no, but also we were talking about this on stream, or someone was talking about this on stream that when you have a rushing quarterback like Justin Fields, it's basically impossible. Like if you're taking Fields that early, right, Moose, you want him to have a huge rushing season because he's not going to pass for like
Hmm.
5,000 yards. And if that happens, he's probably not supporting multiple pass catchers in a given week.
Yeah.
So I mean, it gives us some different outs for sure. And I guess that's one thing I haven't really considered is like sure, we're not going to use both Komet and Mooney probably, but it gives us two unique Fields stacks in week 16, 17, whatever. Just two different outs for Fields to have a big passing game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. And as I mentioned before, you just if you get there, you just need to give yourself as many outs as possible.
Yeah,
However you determine what an out is up to you. But yeah, you just need those different as many outs as possible to get you there.
exactly. Exactly. All right, let's give some other guys here. All right, we still need some more receivers. Let's go back to the stack seeker. The Jets. I'm so mad. Um, I mean, it's just so funny because everyone is so bad that is correlated with us. It's hilarious actually how bad everyone is. So now we're really I think we got as much correlation as we possibly can with these garbage teams. So we're just gonna take best player available and try to balance some
I think that
exposures elsewhere.
I think that sounds more reasonable. Yeah, it's like, do I really want to correlate with wide receiver 17?
Right. Right. Yeah. How much correlation are you really getting? But again, if they go off in week 17, like no one has that game stack.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Let's go. I am still more uh, tilted towards Giants players because
Okay.
the week 17, a 3x2 stack. So I'm going to queue up Wandale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins as receivers in the next 2 rounds or so. And then running backs. All right, so should we take Jerome Ford here? He's one of the biggest. He's been one of the biggest ADP movers literally since we've been drafting, right, for the past month or so. And I've only drafted him once so far, so I feel like we should start taking him before he continues to rise even further.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me take a look at our backing thing here, and let's see. I'm curious how much he's actually gone. I know he's dropped a lot, but let me see. Yeah, he's definitely just slowly steady line going down.
Yeah, I mean
Started in the low 200s. Now he's what 175 or something.
that's crazy. Yeah, so basically 25 picks since best ball tracking has started. He's gone up 2 rounds. In the last week alone, he's gone up a
Mhm.
full round. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, we started tracking with our partnership with Underdog on it's like May 12th, and on that he was 206 ADP,
wow, that's
206.
crazy. All right, so we're gonna look for Ford here. If he's gone, any other running backs that stand out?
And I
Music?
asked Chuck this, like, go ahead.
No, no, no.
No, I'm on the. Oh, I was gonna say, like, at what point do you play the guessing game? Like, oh, Ford is going, he's 11 spots up. He's gonna keep creeping up. Do you try and guess where he's going to be there, or and take him at that spot, or I'm just
Yeah,
kind of curious on how you view these people that have these giant ADP moves.
yeah. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't have enough experience with it to be honest. Right? I've never mass multi-entered best ball, um, so I can't say for sure. Chuck's definitely. What do you remember? What Chuck's answer was? He probably
Uh,
Chuck probably gave a non-answer, knowing Chuck. Sorry, Chuck.
no, it's more of a he felt more comfortable, like waiting on guys as opposed to just like shooting for them, where
Just
you
reaching for them.
like the market kind of saturates everybody, and so you wouldn't reach too far for players.
That makes sense. Yeah, man, that does make sense. So I took him anyways. Sorry, Chuck. So took Ford. I mean, he I can't remember if he was on one of my winning preseason GPP winning teams, but when he plays, he gets the opportunity and he has performed. So I do like him, and it sounds like Kareem Hunt is not coming back, so should be the running back 2 in Cleveland. Um, so we'll see here. So someone just took Hodgins, which is kind of weird. I didn't think his ATP was this high. So we got Wandale Robinson
Mhm.
queued up as a receiver.
Okay.
No bye week issues, Moose. So we're doing great there. Shockingly.
I mean, week 10 is a little tough for us, but it's not awful.
Um, yeah, 2 of our best players are week 10, so it's not great. All right, let's go
Not
back here.
not awful though.
Washington, New Orleans Giants. So I'll put Rashid, Shaheed, and Curtis Samuel here too, just in case we don't get those guys. When in doubt, super game sacks. Most do you,
Five
have,
five
do you
four.
have do you have any read yet? I don't think anyone does really on this Cincinnati backup running back position that we talked about. Joe Mixon being a draft winner and his ADP actually going back up. People not realizing that he really didn't have much competition after P. Ryan left. They drafted
Mm-hmm.
Chase Brown. I saw some beat reports about Travion Williams potentially. Are you just willing to take shots
That's
on
what
all
I've
these
heard.
guys?
Yeah, I'm willing to take shots on everybody, especially this early. I think once training camp starts and once we actually start to get actual physical, like real things that we can extrapolate from, then we can take a look at it more in depth. But again, I did see some things about Trayvon Williams as well. Uh,
And no one's
it's
drafting
just
him.
tough. Yeah.
So maybe we'll take maybe we'll this since for the Bengals happen, we'll take a Travion Williams round 18 for this draft.
Yep. Definitely sounds fine.
All
And I
right.
see you got Shahid queued up. You just want to increase the exposure that I have of him. I see.
Dude, it's hard. I mean, you watched him last year. It's clear that he has game breaking ability and the clear ability to have a spike week. Should have a quarterback upgrade. Um, I mean, he just seems like an easy pick. I'm willing to have a ton of exposure to him.
Yeah. Hmm.
Cause like
And again,
the type
it's
of player he is, he doesn't need 6 7 targets to hit a spike week. He get literally 1 target to hit spike week.
exactly, yeah. And considering he's going in, what is this, the 15th, 16th round, I don't mind taking a high exposure on guys that, as I told Chuck, these guys might not score a point the entire, everyone from week 15 to,
Right.
or from round 15 on, might not even score a point. And so if I know a guy who has the high upside that if he gets his one opportunity, he can really spike week from that, then that's great.
Totally.
I will gladly be high exposure on him.
Yeah, dude, easily. One guy who's a report came out today. I think people will finally start drafting him is Mike Gesicki. Chris pointed out to us in our staff chat
Mm,
this morning that I mean, as a guy who's like an insanely good pass catcher, goes to New England, who has a history of using tight ends. Honestly, didn't work out with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry that well. But again, for being basically undrafted, I think you have to take shots from him. And I've been drafting basically every chance I get. And then we get the report that Hunter Henry says Gesicki's basically just working with the receivers this group or in OTAs with New England, which means they're actually going to use him because Mike McDaniel didn't want to use him properly. He even said it as much himself. But if Gesicki gets split out wide, big slot type of guy, he can easily hit value as around 17, 18 tight end.
yeah, and so I know it's kind of hard to fathom what that means. What for you would be value for a round 16, 17 guy?
For tight end, honestly, like they catch a touchdown in the bye week, like tight end's a volatile position anyways, but like if we use them like 3 times, I would consider that a success in 15, 17 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he gets you 1 week
Yeah.
and he's in your lineup, I think that's honestly great.
I think tight end I think of all the positions, tight end has the best chance of giving you multiple weeks late in drafts because you're still getting starters
Hmm.
here, right? Like Gesicki, Hayden Hurst, Trey McBride, uh, Noah Fant, Jake Ferguson. Like you're still getting guys who are going to be on the field for 50% plus of the snaps. You can't say that about really any of the running backs or receivers.
That's true. Yeah.
I think I'd be thrilled if these receivers and running backs I draft give me 1 week.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. What? Yeah. looking at the tight ends there, I'm trying to think. Is there anyone that could get you those 1 2 weeks? Maybe Isaiah Likely,
I mean, he's a guy.
Gesicki,
He's a
obviously.
guy that like if Mark Andrews goes down, he can give you 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he has the same buy as Darren Waller, and I'd prefer not to have that at a position where you start one guy.
Yes. That would
Uh,
be great.
I'm gonna take Gesicki since we talked about him so much.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. So we have 2 picks left. We have 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, three tight ends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. 1, 2, 3, 6 receivers. So I'm thinking this is going to be a 6-7 build with 6 running backs, 7 receivers.
Okay.
So let's keep some running backs we like. Uh, should we? Well, let's take that round 18 shot on Travion, right?
Yeah, I love that. Let's
Okay,
do
so
it.
I'm gonna queue him up for round 18 here, and then so we need one more receiver now. We could go Claypool for the Chicago correlation.
Okay.
Let's see anybody else with correlation here. Round 18 receivers really gross. I'm gonna go Claypool for the correlation.
Okay. That works for me.
All right, Claypool. All right. All right, so now we'll wait here for Travion. So what do you think about this draft, Moose? It honestly went sideways, which I think we did well in not panicking. We had a nice little backup plan. But what were your thoughts on how this draft went, forcing some players, forcing some exposures? How do you think it went?
It definitely started off not good, to be honest. But we took a step back, we figured it out, and overall, I think it's a pretty decent team. It's a team that has a chance. So that's really all you can ask for when you're trying to reach for these like mid-tier teams. You just give yourself a chance.
Right, and you're not going to be strong at every position, right? But I like the guys that we drafted at running back. Cam Akers, I feel like can outproduce his ADP. I feel like James Conner can. Brian Robinson can if they decide he's the running back one. Kendra Miller, I don't really get it
Hmm.
with the Jamal signing and Kamara already there. But people are drafting him, and he popped in some pre-draft models, so we'll get some exposure to him. Jerome Ford, obviously ADP rising, so running back's gonna be a tough spot. We just got to get 2 performances per week from this pretty underwhelming group. But overall, I think it's a pretty unique roster, and I think we maximize correlation as much as we could.
I don't. Yeah, again, I love it. I mean, we maximize the hell out of correlation. So let's hope we just get a chance and see that pop off.
Exactly, and I think when people talk about correlation, the easy correlation that we've been drafting on stream so far, the ones you and I have talked about, where it's all right, I drafted AJ Brown. Let's get Jalen Hurts coming back, and now let's get whoever they play in Week 17. Like everyone can do that. That's the easiest one. That's gonna be the most popular stacks. You have to take a
Hmm.
dedicated effort, and it takes some fortitude to draft some of these teams like this. And honestly, it takes a lot of mental hurdles to jump through and a lot of planning out. So there's a reason that's not going to be drafted as highly, but I think it just has to be plus EV to draft some of these teams that no one's drafting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If they have their spike week when it aligns, then you absolutely just shoot up the leaderboard. Like talk about that same thing with DFS or season long anything.
Right. And that's why you
Uh,
draft multiple teams because it's fun. And that's why you should do it with promo code OCCUPY4 at Underdog Fantasy. You get a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. So you deposit 100, they give you 100. Actually, we give you 100. I don't know. It's a joint effort. You get $200. You can start drafting. That gives you 40 puppy entries to practice with. Once you get the hang of it, you can deposit some more money and you can play the best ball mania for $3 million up top. So definitely take advantage of that. Which we're 3 picks away. If we
yes.
get if we get sniped on Travion, then this this draft was cursed from the start. Have you seen anyone draft him in your
Oh,
drafts?
I think I've seen him drafted once out of the 6 or 7 drafts or so that I've done.
That's not bad. What were you about to say?
I was gonna say, I asked Chuck this when I was on the stream with him, but what's your thought on NBA Game 2? Who's taking it?
I think if the Nuggets don't let their foot off the gas, it's gonna be them. But
Hmm.
they kind of did in the fourth quarter last game. And actually, I think I'm gonna talk to Chuck and see if he wants to do a stream tonight. We'll see. So
Ooh. Okay.
The people wanted. So all right, Moose, we got Travion in the books. That closes out this hectic draft. Thanks for joining me. Again, we're
Yeah,
doing these 3 times per week, whether it's a live stream or a strategy video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's free to do so. You'll get notified when we go live. Moose, any final thoughts?
yeah. If you also do another draft, like if for the people watching, if you do a draft, we have the Underdog channel. Curious to see what other people are doing. Throw a screenshot of your draft. If you have questions, we're always in there as well in the Discord. It's a fun time over there.
Yeah, we've been throwing our screenshots in there. Feel free to throw your screenshots in there as well. OccupyFantasy.com/Discord, and either make fun of our teams or support other people's teams. So for Moose at CFB_Moose, I'm Brian Jesser at Brian Jesser FF. You can follow us on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. All of our ADP tracking tools and stack secret tools are free at OccupyFantasy.com. The links are in the description below. Go check those out and continue drafting Underdog Fantasy. For Moose and Brian, thanks for listening and good luck.
Keep going.